Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. Calgary, Edmonton, and other cities taken thousands of Yellowknife residents who had until noon today to evacuate encroaching fires. Plus, a Lethbridge mother charged of failing to provide for her infant hears her sentence in court today. And the mother of a 6-year-old that died in the Nova Scotia flood says earlier emergency alerts could have saved her child.
Your nation. Your province. Your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks for joining us. A state of emergency has been declared in Kelowna as wildfires threaten parts of British Columbia's Okanagan region. The BC Wildfire Service says that fast-burning McDougall Creek blaze grew 6 times its size overnight. It now has scorched at least 68 square kilometers of land, up from 11 square kilometers just yesterday. Thousands of properties are under evacuation orders as the city of West Kelowna and the West Bank First Nation have declared local states of emergency. The 20,000 residents in Yellowknife had until noon today to leave town. An evacuation order for the Northwest Territories capital was issued Wednesday due to encroaching wildfires. Convoys of vehicles were seen steadily leaving for safety in various parts of Alberta. Over 3,000 people have been flown out on evacuation flights. The city of Calgary has taken in more than 3,000 evacuees so far, and roughly 500 hotel rooms have been provided to evacuees. But that number is changing rapidly as more people arrive. And evacuees who arrived by air in Alberta and BC shared their relief at the Calgary and Vancouver airports today.
I think the most difficult part was doing it myself. And because everything went, you had a long wait time in Yellowknife Airport, but it was well organized and it was, it went along. I have the dog, I have the cat, the other dog is gone with a friend in a camper, so fires are getting closer. So if they merge and, maybe it'll come our direction. I sure hope not. But just gotta do what you need to do and put one foot in front of the other and do it.
It's just a good relief to be away because for every day for almost 3 weeks you can't see anything. All you see is smoke. Yesterday afternoon, as the fire got closer to Yellowknife, or on the highway area, because we're up on the high-rise, we could see the big plume of smoke, so we knew that it was coming closer. But it's just a relief to feel safe.
Federal ministers took questions today on the government's response to wildfires raging in the Northwest Territories. Minister of National Defence Bill Blair gave an update on the much-needed help and support the Canadian Armed Forces has been providing since being deployed last Saturday.
Canadian Armed Forces members are currently out working the fires. They're mopping up and clearing debris as fires are put out. They're dousing hotspots to prevent further outbreaks. And very importantly, they have been working with local officials to construct fire breaks in and around the western region of Yellowknife and Etah to stop the spread and to protect critical infrastructure, homes, and that in community. Canadian Armed Forces members are also providing aircraft for mobility and logistics tasks, and of course for air evacuations. Hercules, Globemaster, and Polaris aircraft are currently tasked to conduct evacuation flights to Edmonton and Calgary. And today I can confirm that the first military evacuation flight from Yellowknife took place last night on board a C-130 Hercules aircraft, which safely carried 79 long-term care residents to Edmonton.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to visit an evacuation center in Edmonton that's taking in people fleeing the wildfires approaching Yellowknife. And that intense heat has been a real problem with wildfire potential. And heat warnings still continue today in our region. Angela Stewart is now with a quick preview of the weather. Angela, once again, Lethbridge faced both a heat warning and a special air quality alert.
Yeah, Jeanette, that's exactly it. We've been kind of hit with a double whammy, if you will. So heat warnings and special air quality statements. Now, in terms of the heat warning, that's kind of expected to last until this weekend. So about Saturday is kind of what we're looking at. Now, in terms of the special air quality, that's kind of unknown because of those wildfires that are burning in BC. But nonetheless, we reached a high of 32 degrees today. Kind of cooler conditions, though, with some rain scattered throughout. Expected to dip down to a low of 6 today. Or 6 tonight, rather, shooting up to 21 tomorrow with lots of sunshine, so great day to get out, and then expected low of 8 degrees for Saturday. As for how the rest of the week is shaping up, I'll have all those details coming up later on in the show.
The folks at Samaritan's Purse have been dispatched to Hawaii to help victims of the devastating Maui wildfire. On Tuesday, the organization airlifted 17 tons of emergency relief equipment, including solar lights, hygiene kits, and volunteer teams to Lahaina, Maui. Danielle Hartung, the Senior Communications and Engagement Strategist with the group, says they're still on the ground helping where they're needed.
We also have brought tools because one of the ways that we often are able to respond after a fire like this is being able to do sifting and help families recover precious belongings from the ashes. And this is often a really important healing and closing process for people to be able to do after they've lost so much. So we're bringing relief supplies, and we also have chaplains on site to be able to care for people and pray for them as well.
We asked Hardung if Samaritan's Purse has been asked to assist with the Northwest Territories wildfire situation, and she told us they haven't yet, but they will respond if they do get the call.
We're on standby. We're prepared to respond in several of these different capacities. The other piece is we've actually historically responded in Fort Smith and in Hay River. So we've reached out to our contacts in the area. We've worked with several of the churches there. So we're checking with our folks that we know on the ground, seeing how we can be of help, and are prepared to respond when it is safe to do so, to care for those who have evacuated and who are in the midst of such an incredible tragedy right now.
To support Samaritan's Purse disaster relief efforts, you can visit samaritanspurse.ca. The mother of a 6-year-old boy who died in the July 22nd flooding in Nova Scotia says she will push for improvements in emergency preparations. Tara Cisco says an emergency alert took too long to warn Colton Cisco's father of the rising waters in low-lying areas near Windsor, Nova Scotia.
I Facebook messaged him. I actually Facebook called through the little calling button at 2:28 a.m. He woke up. He said that he would check over, but when he put his feet over the bed, he was in water. He had Colton and his dog in his arms. His truck started to float by him, and he got to the front of the house, which was acting like a dam, and he pushed on the front door as Nick had pulled, and it took two of them to open their front door in order to get out of their house. And then they got in the only vehicle that had a hope, with raging rivers on both sides, and they all got into the Ford. And from there, they tried to get out of the driveway. When they turned to go left, they turned their wheels, and instead of turning left into where they wanted to go, the current picked up the truck and turned it into the ditch, where it would be fully submerged, and not everybody got out.
The deputy fire chief of Brooklyn, Nova Scotia's fire department called for a public alert to be issued at 1:12 a.m., but the alert was only sent at 3:06 a.m. Tara Cisco says our emergency alert systems need to be held to the account that our fire departments are, and that this could have made the difference for her child. A Lethbridge mother who failed to provide the necessaries of life for her daughter was in court today for sentencing. We have a warning to viewers that the details in this story are disturbing. Angela Stewart reports.
Well, the mother who pleaded guilty to failing to provide the necessaries of life for her baby girl back in January has learned how long she will spend behind bars. As per a joint submission between the Crown and Defence, the mother, who cannot be named due to a publication ban which protects the child's identity, was sentenced to 2 years less a day in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. According to an agreed statement of facts, police were called to a home on the north side on January 18th after the roommate of the parents believed the baby was being assaulted. When officers arrived, they noticed the child had trouble breathing, had a twitching hand, and fixed gaze. The court heard the father admitted to police that he would become frustrated with the baby and would drop her on a mattress, shake, and play basketball with her. It was revealed the baby had suffered a seizure on the way to the hospital and was later airlifted to Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary. The child has since been discharged, but doctors believe she will live the rest of her life with cerebral palsy and may never be able to see out of her left eye. During sentencing Friday, defense counsel John Oman indicated the mother has had no prior criminal record and had been with the father for 6 years prior to the assault. He stated the mother has suffered with substance abuse and homelessness in the past. When sentencing the mother, Justice Maxwell said, quote, "This case can only be described as tragic," adding the sentence reflects the lack of responsibility she had and not the abuse that was inflicted on the child. Upon her release, the mother has 2 days to report to probation. She must also have zero contact with the victim or her caregivers and the father. She's also to remain 100 meters away from the child and caregivers. Other terms include living at a home that has been approved by probation and must participate in counseling. The mother has been granted a 213-day credit for time already served. She has 409 days left in her sentence. For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
A Lethbridge woman who took another woman hostage in a Lethbridge office building and then stabbed her multiple times in the neck pleaded guilty to 11 charges on Thursday. Courtney Shaw faces charges of attempted murder and hostage taking, as well as charges of pointing a firearm, use of a firearm while committing an offense, unlawful confinement, and aggravated assault. On July 14th of last year, Shaw entered Lethbridge legal guidance armed with a knife and airsoft handgun. When the lawyer she wanted to see wasn't there, Shaw used the restroom and then came out pointing the gun at two of the employees, then forced one worker into an office with a knife. Police tried negotiating with Shaw before a tactical team entered the building and apprehended Shaw, who was found holding the knife to herself. Her victim, Catherine Lindor, was left with life-threatening stab wounds on her neck but underwent surgery and survived. Shaw's next court date is September 5th. The Alberta government is bringing all community lab testing back in-house due to long waits and bottlenecks for testing in Calgary and southern Alberta. Health Minister Adriana LaGrange says the province has reached a deal with private provider DynaLife to transfer its staff, equipment, and property to the government by the end of the year.
I know Albertans will be wondering, what does this mean for me? The answer is simple. There should be no significant change to how you access lab services. You will still go to the same facilities you go to today. You will still book appointments through the same system you use today. Existing appointments you have already booked will not be impacted, and you will still see the same frontline staff you see today. There will be no job loss for frontline lab workers.
Alberta NDP finance critic Shannon Phillips says southern Alberta, and particularly the Lethbridge region, has been a leader in renewable energy development and even makes up half of Vulcan County's tax base. But she says Premier Danielle Smith and Utilities Minister Nathan Neudorf put this all at risk by introducing a moratorium 2 weeks ago, a quote, on a whim, which she says has now interfered in the free market.
And they did that without any consultation or notice with the industry, putting themselves in legal jeopardy and putting our reputation at risk as a good place to invest. Now, according to media reports, there are 4 projects just around Medicine Hat that have now been delayed due to this decision. Those 4 projects alone equal $1.7 billion in investment and would mean almost 3,000 construction jobs for our region. And I know when I was door knocking during the election campaign, I met many people who work in the construction industry on these renewable energy projects, young people. Now their future ability to pay their bills is at risk. Danielle Smith said the other day, it's only 6 months. I have a hard time when I think about those young folks that I talk to who were either just exiting the wind turbine tech program at the Lethbridge College or people who were working in the industry. I have a hard time thinking about them now and their premier just shrugging and saying, oh, it's just 6 months.
We reached out to Nathan Neudorf, Minister of Affordability and Utilities, for a response. He released a statement saying the decision to pause is to ensure confidence and reliability in the renewable sector. We have heard concerns from the Alberta Utilities Commission, municipalities, landowners, and industry players about making sure we have the right policies to support this growing sector. This means addressing issues on renewable development, land reclamation at the end of project life, the use of agricultural lands, environmental stewardship, and the reliability of renewables for the long haul. All projects that have already been approved or conditionally approved will not be impacted by this pause. Alberta leads the nation in the development of renewable energy projects with more than 3,400 megawatts of wind and solar under construction. This pause will ensure this growth will continue well into the future. The amazing aroma of ribs is back in Lethbridge. The 2023 Rotary Rib Fest is being hosted in the NMAX Center parking lot this weekend. There will be live music, a beer garden, and of course, incredible ribs. Organizers with the event told us they're expecting around 20 to 25,000 people to head to Rib Fest throughout the weekend.
Friday kickoff is, we just started this thing, and so we're starting to see the crowd slowly kind of filter in. Tonight we'll see a lot bigger crowds. Tomorrow will be busy all day long, and then Sunday we'll get busy really quick, and it kind of taper off. But we're going to see a lot of people. I think we've got some great weather. They were threatening, some rain this weekend, but I think we're going to duck the rain and have some, not the hot temperatures, but just some nice days ahead of us. So we've got 6 tents set up in the beer garden for shade. Lots of shade, right? Free parking, free entry. Come on down.
The funds from this year's event will help Ukrainian evacuees settle here in Lethbridge. Items that will be bought include clothing, housing, and essential items that help Ukrainians start a new life in the city. Well, it's almost time for the annual Whoop Up Days festivities to begin. The event has free admission and will be located at the Lethbridge and District Exhibition Grounds right next to the new Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center. Mike Workington, the CEO of the exhibition, says staples like the jumbo ears will be back this year and will benefit a worthy cause.
We've partnered with the Lethbridge International Baseball Federation, Lethbridge International Baseball Federation, once again this year to raise funds for the Lethbridge Longhorns program. Their volunteers will be in here serving up everybody's favorite, and we actually think it will be exceptionally busy this year because of the free admission. So that is our focal point. I think we have about 20 local and varying food trucks that are coming to site, serving everything from your favorite corn dog to some of your wild and wacky fair food. So we're looking forward to those trucks rolling in and everyone getting a taste of the fair, because we know it's what people look forward to all year, starting Tuesday.
Whoop Up Days will run from August 22nd through the 26th, following this year's parade, which will start by Park Place Mall and end at Galbraith Elementary School. Bridge City News will have a vehicle in the parade and a reporter out in the downtown to cover the story. 3 Lethbridge players are set to embark on a trip to Derby, England for the Walking Football World Nations Cup. A mix of players from Oakville, Ontario will be joining the Canadian club as well. The team will be competing in the over 60 category in the competition. Bill Chapman, one of the players from Lethbridge, explains to us exactly what walking football is.
The short and long of it is that there is no running. It is all about walking. There's no body contact, no shots of, or the ball can't go above the head. And there's penalties for running, for other fouls that are incurred. So it is a bit of a different sport in a way, but it allows people with that have retired from the really active sport of running soccer to be able to participate and enjoy it in a more leisurely fashion.
The Canadian team is guaranteed 5 games, and if they make it past that pool, they'll advance to the next level. The World Nations Cup will kick off on August the 24th. We were still under a heat warning in southern Alberta today, but all that is about to change this weekend. We'll be right back with a full look at the weather right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It was another hot one in Lethbridge today. A high of 32 degrees with local smoke from the wind of the wildfires and also those gusty winds. So this afternoon we saw winds gusting to 50 and even 70 kilometers per hour. But this weekend it looks like the temperature could drop significantly. Angela Stewart is in now with a look at the weather. Angela, how much of a temperature variation are we looking at for this weekend?
Yeah, Jeanette, so as we know, it was very, very warm this week. We reached those highs of mid-30s to even high 30s at times. Like as we reached yesterday, we reached 37 degrees yesterday, so that was a record breaker. But as we head into the weekend, temperatures and conditions will be cooling off slightly. Rain scattered throughout for some days and even into mid next week. Mid-20s is kind of what we're seeing, 24 and 19 for Sunday, Monday, 26, 24, 25 with cloud coverage for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Our average high for this time of year is 26 degrees. Our average low is 10. 35 degrees was the highest temperature recorded back in 2001 on this day. Lowest temperature was 3 degrees back in 1995. The sun rose at 6:26 this morning, expected to set at 8:43. That puts us at about 14 hours and 17 minutes of daylight. Okay, so when we're looking at temperatures and conditions across the country for Saturday now, cool near the water though. There are winds kind of gusting up to about 50 at times, so it will feel a little bit cooler there. There is a special weather statement in effect for the interior BC, so the Vancouver-Coquihalla Highway. When we're talking about a special weather statement, we're talking about strong winds, which is causing those wildfire conditions to be impacted even more. So kind of keep that in mind if you are in those areas. Dry lightning is kind of what Environment Canada is also predicting. 24, 26 for Vancouver, Victoria. 17 for both Calgary and Edmonton. There is a special air quality statement in effect for Calgary. That is because of those wildfires also burning. Rain and thunderstorms are kind of what is on tap for tomorrow for both of those cities. To our friends east of us in Saskatchewan, rain scattered throughout Saskatoon tomorrow, 19 degrees. 21 though, hazy conditions in the morning for Regina, lots of sunshine, so nonetheless very beautiful tomorrow. Winnipeg, kind of the same deal, humid temperatures, feeling more like 30 degrees there tomorrow, 26 the expected high for Winnipeg. Now, central part of the country in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal, cooler conditions. They've been kind of also coming out of a heat warning as well. 25, 24, and 19 for these regions as well. Some rain scattered throughout, but nonetheless, it's going to be beautiful there and will help to cool things off. Atlantic Canada, though, there is a rainfall warning for Halifax, so keep that in mind. When we're talking about a rainfall warning, we're talking about heavy rain at times. What's kind of being expected is about between 50 to 70 millimeters of rain. Nonetheless, wet conditions in Atlantic Canada, 25, 23, 26, and 17 for St. John's for Saturday. And that is a look at your full weather forecast.
Canada is facing a shortage of purpose-built rentals, and that's driving up rent prices. Strong demand for rentals and a shortage of homes are both contributing to soaring rental costs, and that's making it even more difficult to save money for a home. High population growth and interest rates are also adding to the problem, though experts say construction of rentals has been lagging for decades. Meanwhile, home prices in Canada continued to rise in July, according to the Terranet National Bank Composite Index. The index for July was up 2.4% from June after seasonal adjustments. That was the fourth consecutive monthly increase and the second highest price jump ever recorded in a single month after the one observed in July of 2006. 8 of the 11 markets in the composite index were up during the month, with Halifax at the most at 4.9%. Now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 6 points on the day to finish at 19,818. The Dow was up 25 points to 34,500. The S&P 500 was down 0.65 to 4369, and the Nasdaq was down 26 points to finish at 13,290. West Texas Intermediate oil was up $1.02 to $81.41 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 7 cents to $2.55 US. Gold was down 12 cents to $18.8932 US an ounce, and silver was up 6 cents to $22.75 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $10.31 per bushel. Barley's at $8.16. Canola's at $18.17, and corn is at $9.75 per bushel. Live cattle were up 48 cents to $178.53. Feeder cattle were up $1.30 to $245.58. Lean hogs were up $2.98 to $82.13. And the loonie was down slightly over the past 24 hours to $73.79 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, officials in Calgary say the city took in more than 1,200 wildfire evacuees from 14 flights out of the Northwest Territories Thursday. Another 26 flights carrying 2,300 people were expected Friday. The city says roughly 500 hotel rooms have been provided for evacuees so far, and that number is changing rapidly as more evacuees are arriving. Up next, Drew Barnes, a former independent MLA for Cypress Medicine Hat, joins Naveen Day to discuss hot topics in Alberta politics, such as the federal emissions targets. And hey, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. And if you missed any of today's stories, be sure to visit our website at bridgecitynews.ca.